All right, guys, so to help you out with your assignment for today, I wanted to do a few more examples where you need to factor a quadratic equation and there's a number in front of x squared. So you can use the guess and check method, but I prefer the slide and divide method because it's more straightforward. You don't have to go through as many steps in most cases. So I'm going to show you 3 more examples. So the first one I'm going to give you is going to be 6x squared minus x minus 2. So let's go ahead and see if we can factor this. So since there's a number in front of x squared, the first thing I'm going to see is there something I can divide all of these numbers by? And there's not. Because I have this -1 in front of x squared, I can't really divide anything out here. So we go straight to slide and divide. So first step is slide your first number to your last number and multiply them together. -2 times 6 is -12. Then we factor. And to factor quadratic equations that look like this, we just want to find the factors of this last number that add up to this middle number. We want the factors of -12 that add up to -1. And again, there's no number in front of x. That means there's a 1 there. So we can go through and we can list all the factors of -12, but the one that would work here would be -4 and +3. -4 plus 3 is -1. Remember, as you're trying to find the correct factors here, if you choose factors that gives you the opposite sign than what you want, we can fix that by just interchanging the signs, making the negatives positive and the positives negative. Okay, so the factors we want here, the factors of -12 that add up to -1 are -4 and +3. So this factored out x minus 4, x plus 3. So that's slide, and we factored. So the last step is to divide. And what we divide is just the numbers -4 and +3 by the number that we slid over, this 6 up here. And now that I have that written, I'm going to go through and simplify both of these fractions as much as I can. -4 over 6 is the same thing as -2 over 3. And 3 over 6 is the same thing as 1/2. After my fractions are simplified as much as possible, the last step is to take any remaining denominators, and they both have denominators, and move them in front of their x's. So this becomes 3x minus 2, just the numerator, and this becomes 2x plus 1. And that's it. That is factored. Let's do another example. Clear. Maybe let me click clear. All my drawings. Okay. Another example. Let's look at this one. All right, so this one has some bigger numbers. But remember, the first thing you should always do is look at all the numbers that you see and see if there's a number that I can divide all of them by that would give me whole numbers. And this one does have one. All 3 of these numbers, 4, -10, and -24, are all divisible by 2. When I divide them all by 2, we get 2x squared, -5x, and -12. So when I factor a 2 out, it looks like that. And we do have to make sure that that 2 I factored out is still there. We're not being asked to divide anything. We're being asked to give its factored form. So the factors are still there. Don't drop them out. Okay, now with this quadratic equation that's remaining in the parentheses here, I'm going to use the slide and divide method to continue factoring that. So first I slide the first number to the last number and multiply them together. -12 times 2 is -24. And then I look for the factors of -24 that add up to our middle number, which is a -5. And again, I can use trial and error here. I can try a couple different ones. Negative 12 times 2 is negative 24, but their sum is negative 10. Negative 3 times 8 is negative 24, but their sum is a positive 5, which is close. We just need to change a sign. And in order to change a sign to get a negative 5, I'm just going to take these two numbers and change their signs around. So we want a positive 3 and a negative 8. That will give us a sum of negative 5. So I write this in factored form now, not forgetting that 2 out there. We have x plus 3 and x minus 8. So we slid, we factored, and we still need to divide. So I divide those two numbers again, just the 3 and the negative 8, by the number that we slid, which was this 2 right here. Then I simplify those fractions as much as I can. Let's see, 3 halves doesn't simplify at all. So I'm just going to move that denominator out in front of x, 2x plus 3. And negative 8 over 2 is just negative 4. So there we go, all done. There's the factored form of 4x squared minus 10x minus 24. Let's do one more example. How about this one? So remember when we were going through the lesson yesterday, we said that we're always going to divide out any number that I can divide all of my terms by. And I don't really have a number that I can divide them all by other than negative 1. Remember, anytime that they said that anytime that your first term is a negative, we want to make sure we divide that negative out before we try to do anything else. The very first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to get rid of that negative by dividing it out. So if I divide everything here by a negative, we end up with a positive 3x squared, a positive 22x, and a positive 7. Okay, so we only do that when the very first term is negative. And looking at those three numbers that are left, 3, 22, and 7, they don't have any other common factors to factor out. So from here again, we're going to do slide and divide. So I slide the 3 over to the 7 and multiply them. 3 times 7 is 21. So I'm going to look for the factors of my last number that add up to my middle number. So I want the factors of 21 that add up to 22. And there's not a lot of factors of 21. It's basically 1 and 21 and 7 and 3, right? And when I look at their sum, 7 and 3 would give me 10. 1 and 21 gives me the 22 that I want. So the factors I'm going to use are x plus 1 and x plus 21. But don't forget, there's that negative outside here. Don't lose it. So x plus 1 and x plus 21. So we slid, we factored, last step is to divide. And we're dividing by the number we slid, which is right here, is just 3. Okay, and then we simplify those fractions. 1/3 does not simplify, so I'm just going to take the denominator and move it out in front of the x. But the other one, 21 divided by 3, is 7. So there's the factored form of that quadratic equation. Let me know if you have other questions.